Hello and welcome to the CTO Perspective, where we discuss unique perspectives about the most current issues in IT operations. And here today with us is once again Jason Walker, former Director of IT Operations at Blizzard Entertainment and currently Field CTO at BigPanda. Hey Jason.
Hey Yorm, great to see you again.
It's great seeing you again. I'm always looking forward to our conversations. And today we'll be talking about IT ops tax, or in other words, the hidden costs of running suboptimal IT operations. Now, most organizations look at their NOC and their command center as their primary cost and service downtime as their main and often only KPI. But the reality is that that's just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? There are often many other hidden costs that can amount to staggering amounts. Isn't that right?
It is, and I think it's really underappreciated across most organizations. Because if you think about IT operations, usually it's a small operations center or command center that is running all the monitoring through there, all the incident management workflow. But if you go all the way out to the service level and you consider that you have online services that are being consumed by customers or employees at any given time, and there's an issue with one of those. And yes, your ops team is there to detect that, and they use various monitoring tools to do that. But let's say the ops team doesn't detect it, and that's kind of a critical thing. The monitoring isn't there, the coverage and quality isn't there. You haven't invested that time in doing that. What's going to happen is your service will have an issue, and it'll come in via your customer service group. And they won't be able to triangulate them, and they'll go on for some time, and they'll be handled at an individual level. So one ticket for each call. And your CS team over time, because your service will experience periodic issues, your CS team will grow their resources, will grow their headcount to accommodate that load, that volume of tickets that they're taking in. And they will actually build entire processes around doing that well. And then if you go one step upstream from that, your IT ops team usually has a connection to customer support, and they will start getting user reports that looks like there's a problem with this service. And so they'll dive into it, and they'll execute whatever runbooks they have. And this will take up time, and they will similarly scale their headcount, their resources, and build out the processes to try to manage it from that perspective. And this continues further and further upstream.
So what you're saying is that we have some sort of suboptimal service, or something isn't working as well as it should be, but because we don't have the proper IT ops in place, and we either have a lot of noise or are not monitoring everything properly, we don't know that we're not operating optimally, and then we're building support and maintenance around something that is not working 100% properly. And actually, we're growing our teams to support something that's a bit broken.
Absolutely. And you're going to grow your teams. You're going to add additional resources to accommodate whatever load you have.
And why is this a hidden cost? Why aren't organizations aware of this fact? Aren't they measuring these things?
It's very difficult to measure. Why do you need a team size of a certain size? Why do you need to build out your application development team to 7 resources instead of 5 to manage that microservice? I remember a specific value-added service that we ran on one of the major games at Blizzard, and it would generate 12,000 tickets a month for our CS team. And it would generate thousands of incident tickets per month, low number, like around 1,000 in our IT operations team. And when you looked at that value-added service and went all the way upstream to when it was initially built out, it was done on the basis of a business necessity. It was a little bit of a rushed job. The engineers did the best they could with what they had at the time, but things like good monitoring, like a good ability to control the inputs and outputs to that service, good failovers, redundancy, availability, all of those things were shortchanged because, of course, new feature development, new application development is always the priority for a development team.
So basically you're saying this works, it doesn't work well, but we're used to it. Let's keep it that way, not touch it. And because we're sort of wary of change and processes and people, let's just support it and try to do, other stuff in the meantime. But but we're not aware of the actual cost of doing that. Because instead of the operations cost trickles down to CS, it trickles down to DevOps teams, and you're actually paying this operations cost without knowing it.
Yes, because the CIO doesn't usually, the customer support organization doesn't report up through him. Neither does the application development team in a lot of organizations. And so nobody ever connects those dots. And that was something that, I saw us pay the price. We had a huge community team. Our game teams had entire live operations production groups of 8 to 10 engineers simply there for incident management, and it just trickled up through the organization. So everybody's team was a little bit bigger. Everybody's team needed a few more software licenses. Everybody's team ran a little bit slower in terms of velocity.
And can you evaluate what cost that was? Like in general numbers, like this. I know it's a difficult question, but we're talking about the hidden costs.
Yeah, half of the company at one point at Blizzard was CS, 2,500 people, and over about a 5-year period, with a whole bunch of, they did a whole bunch of self-service improvements. They made a whole bunch of monitoring improvements. We did a whole bunch of incident management and operations improvements. We reduced that to 900 people. Wow. You start at 2,500. If you think about that, that's not tens of millions of dollars. That's getting up towards $100 million because people are expensive, and they were distributed globally. You need larger offices to support that amount of headcount, and that type of inefficiency is something that you arrive at over a long period of time, not something that you hire overnight and then can get rid of overnight.
So it's a lot of small things, or bigger things, but like individual things that accumulate, and altogether they're causing this huge tax. You called it, I think, death by 1,000 cuts. That was a nice way of presenting it.
It really is, yeah.
And so, what would be what's the right? So, what is it? What's the right thing to do to actually start raising awareness to that? And then, what is the right thing to do to start dealing with that?
So, I'm a data guy, and so I always go back to the data. And if you can tag and label and identify and establish a good data standard across your organization, so your CS organization, your IT operations organization, your IT engineering organization, your application development organization, are all identifying live operations work in the same way, using the same taxonomy. And you aggregate all of that, maybe in a single system, in a single, Tableau, Power BI, one of those major tools. And you aggregate that over time and watch the trend, watch how much you're spending on live operations activity. And then you relate it to signal to noise ratio that your IT operations has, and all of the spend you have around monitoring tools, monitoring sources, incident management tools, incident workflows, automation efforts, and you watch the effect on that live operations burden as you introduce process improvements, as you introduce self-service features maybe for customers, as you introduce better change handling procedures, better configuration management. All of those things will lower that tax, and you can see the result.
So it's standardizing the data so you can actually compare things, and then using enrichment and putting everything together in one place so you can make ties between things that are happening and the events that cause them, so you understand truly how it is that you operate and what are the implications.
Yes, of course. You measure what you care about, and it's very important to build that picture and watch the trends over time and identify the relevant changes that you're making in your organization and in your processes and in your tooling, and the effect that they have on that. Because you launch a new service or a new feature, and it creates, yes, maybe some additional customer interest, and that generates revenue, and that's kind of the focus of service development, right? But what does it cost to maintain, and then what does it bring in terms of revenue? Because that's really your P&L. That's really your cost benefit analysis. And
so maybe maybe that would be a good place to talk a little bit about BigPanda and how it helps you do those things that you just mentioned?
Of course. So BigPanda, event correlation and automation platform, traditionally used by IT operations team. What it's going to do is bring all that data together, all your IT operations data, and provide analytics around how that trends over time. The spend around incident management. How did these incidents come in? What was the source of the incident? How long did it take us to detect, to acknowledge, to assign, and to remediate? And you're going to see the volume of incidents coming in from all your different sources, and you're going to watch that over time. And you're going to know which of those were actionable and which of them weren't, which of them were maintenance related, which of them came in as user reports and were correlated later on to alerts. You're going to be able to bring all of that together in one place, analyze it, control it over time, and hopefully, improve it as you make organizational process, people, process, technology changes across your team.
How much of BigPanda was used to cut down from 2,500 to 900 people in Blizzard?
That's a great question. I would be really hard pressed. CS, we had great leadership there, and they went on an efficiency mission to lean out all their services, and all of the application development, IT, engineering, everybody was united in the fact that, hey, it's costing us too much to run our services. And so it was an organizational effort. And I say BigPanda did a great job of showing the progress over time, and then really, eliminating all the noise. You reclaim your engineering time in application engineering and in IT engineering teams. And your SREs, they get back the time that they need to increase velocity. And it's incremental. It's not you don't slash 50% of your budget out of the gate, but it does make a noticeable difference. And that's where you get the positive feedback coming to your IT operations team as they kind of bask in the glow of, hey, we're sending you a lot less noise and you're feeling it. And as a result, you are very focused on the incidents that we do give you, which means everything runs faster and everything runs better. So you get into this really nice virtuous cycle.
Cool. I think that's eye-opening and a great place to end. I want to thank you once again for your time. This has been great.
Yes, my pleasure, and always good talking to you. I think there's a lot more to dive into there, but hopefully we can get to that in a future session.
I hope so too. And if you want to hear more CTO perspectives or learn about the BigPanda platform, visit us at bigpanda.io. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.